And we're live.
We are live with Star Trek Reliant once again, a Star Trek Adventures role-playing game that we have set in the Star Trek Online universe because all of us who play this are either longtime players of Star Trek Online or former Foundry authors and longtime players of Star Trek Online. This is basically our way to keep telling the stories that we wish we could tell using a Foundry that no longer exists. But we get to tell these stories here, so, hey, that's a bonus at least. Let me introduce you to the people that are here tonight. We don't have quite all of our players this evening, but the people that we do have will be the first to experience a new location in our game. We have the ship's captain, commanding officer Marcus Graves, who is played by Duncan Idaho.
Hello, and we don't have our ship yet.
No, your ship is. This will be the second episode. Second episode we're starting where your ship is not present. We have we have the ship's pilot and a senior member of the science team, Lieutenant Kara Junrani, an Ibi, which is a race that Duncan himself created long ago in the Foundry.
Hail to the Queen, baby.
We also have our medical team with us tonight, so who knows, I may change tonight's story around a little bit to focus on the medical team who we do have present. We have the ship's chief medical officer, Dr. Eli O'Connor, played by Nick, friend from Twitter and a long-standing member in good standing of Gaze in Space. Sorry I said it like that. I have no idea.
That's how you're supposed to say it. That's how you're supposed to say it.
I was going to say,
okay,
I'm
good.
a member of that too. Exactly.
I'm legally made to say it that way.
Awesome.
But yes, I am Dr. Eli O'Connor, award-winning race master.
Cool. We also have the sponsor of tonight's episode, who is putting it on the web for everyone to hear and streaming it. That would be our good friend, the grumpy old Nord, playing Chaplain Victor Waitley. Something we don't see often in Star Trek at all is the fact that there is religion in Star Trek, even though Gene Roddenberry wanted to avoid it at the very beginning and such. We have the Bajorans, we have the Trill, we have other races that have shown religious tendencies, and on board a starship there is bound to be a number of people with different faiths, and our wonderful ship's counselor also acts as a chaplain for the Reliance All Faiths Chapel, and that is, of course, the grumpy old Nord.
Well, as all know, the Federation unofficially serves and worships the great bird of the galaxy. I am simply their messenger and prophet, if one should wish. But counseling sessions are always open if one is willing to swing by my office.
Well, previously, for those listening who were not here previously, and for those playing who may have forgotten what occurred previously on Star Trek Reliant, we have entered the second quote-unquote season of the show, if it were a show. The first bit showed us, the first episode showed us a bunch of the crew managing to relax after a very big combat that had a lot of explosions all over the place, and we managed to see a good number of the crew relaxing in Yosemite Park on Earth. The Reliant itself is in space dock at the Utopia Planitia Yards, being repaired and refit after the large, after the large combat that they were a part of at the end of season 1. And we also, during that episode, got to see Dr. Eli O'Connor finally use his racing ship that he got last summer, and he entered a race in the Sol system out around. Basically, he entered a NASCAR race for spaceships, and he won. He and his daring crew, which consisted of the Exocomp Oakley, who has appeared in many of our episodes, and a man named Checkers. The three of them managed to make that ship the victor of part of the racing circuit around this whole system. And near the end of that episode, what we saw was the captain receiving orders on his pad that was, sitting, they were relaxing, so it was sitting over on a rock and maybe went unseen for a few minutes, but the orders that the Reliant crew has received is that they are all to take basically a Starfleet shuttlecraft that will be bringing them where they're going, a warp-capable shuttlecraft, of course, that will bring them to the starbase in the Epsilon Sector, which is the sector that they have been assigned as part of the Exploration Command. They and the rest of the Second Fleet explore out into the Epsilon Sector, and Starbase Epsilon 10, the 10th iteration of the Starbase, is what they would call home, and they have an assigned by command debriefing with an Ensign Phillip Cray of the temporal. What would that division even be called? I know we heard them call that division
Department of Temporal Investigations.
That's it. Yeah, the DTI. All that the crew knows about this person they're going to debrief with is that he is part of the DTI. He is assigned this. He's been assigned to this debriefing by the Department of Temporal Investigations, and so we begin. We begin tonight's game on one of the shuttlecraft because we're missing a few people. People are going to get there on different shuttlecrafts because that allows us to pick up on the probably something more along the lines of we're thinking 24. It's 2410 at this point, very nearly on the galactic calendar, and so we're probably looking at something that's more like a runabout than a shuttlecraft. That Captain Graves, Chaplain Waitley, Dr. O'Connor, and Lieutenant Junrani are all aboard en route. You're almost there. You have time for basically one scene with each other. Also, Lieutenant Moon, the operations chief, Lieutenant Jordan Moon, is on this shuttle as well.
That's right.
You have time for one scene here.
I forgot to make a card for them.
For Jordan Moon.
Yeah.
We have a picture of him, and eventually there will be one.
Yep.
So, that is the current crew that is aboard the shuttlecraft that is about to make dock at at Epsilon 10. I almost called it Deep Space Nine for some reason.
I heard that. I thought you were going to call it Deep Space 10. I was just like, hey, that would fit.
That would fit, but no, it's Epsilon 10, which I really love the whole, you can use X as it, so it can be Epsilon X, and it still means Epsilon 10. So, anyway, the shuttlecraft is approaching, you're on, final-ish approach, within the next 40 minutes, you're going to dock at you're going to dock at Epsilon 10. So, up to you guys. Who wants to talk first? Who wants to? One of you can be piloting. I imagine, if anyone, that would be Kara.
That's what I was
There
assuming.
also could be a pilot on board for you, bringing you here. It's all up to you guys. The scene begins in this runabout.
One of the things Duncan was talking to me, because you said I could possibly take them on my ship after the race. Was that?
I love
that's
that. In fact, this is no runabout that you guys are on. In fact, this is your ship. The name escapes me at the moment.
Scion of Prospero.
The Scion of Prospero. Yes, I remember it being like a cool like racing ship name. And so. Indeed, you are aboard your ship, Eli. You can be piloting it if you want. Checkers is willing to pilot it. And that also places, in addition to the NPC of having Jordan Moon on this ship, it also places Oakley on this ship. And Oakley is also willing to be piloting if all of you just want to be hanging out on the bridge, which I assume to be a very comfortable place. It is, after all, like a racing ship. It's a civilian ship. You could have like couches on your bridge if you want. You know what I mean?
So Marcus Graves is totally laying back on the couch.
Yep, there's a couch. It's a nice couch. Leather, luxury.
Ooh. He is very much enjoying this couch.
Eli is holding his big-ass Soul Classic trophy.
Just still like holding it, polishing it slowly.
Yes.
And Marcus is just sort of reading his data pad, just making sure he got a proper handle of what's coming up. And it's basically a whole bunch of, not a whole lot, just standard operations. So he just sort of takes a long sigh, picks up a beer, just sort of has a drink, and he's just like...
Waitley shoots him a
Gotta hand
glance
it
and goes back to what he's doing.
Gotta hand it to you, Arconnor. This is quite the way to travel.
Speaking...
Sorry.
For Marcus, because just real quick, and then we'll go right to Kara. For Marcus, roll a check. Your target number is 16. Just based on what you said you did, you may roll a reason command check.
Woo!
And now go ahead, Kara.
Speaking of hands, have you had an opportunity to work on my problem, Dr. O'Connor?
Yes, that is definitely worked on. It just needs a few final touches, and you'll have a hand.
You don't have
And hopefully
Setsa
the rest
working
of it
on
as
do
well.
And Marcus.
you? So I hope you don't have Setsa working on that.
I do
Again.
not. I don't. I've taken complete care of it.
All right. Yeah,
Have
like
you tried the champagne?
I'll try the champagne, but yeah, I don't think the paper mache was really a viable alternative to flesh.
I did not think so either. And I was specifically requested not to do synthetic flesh, so it's not going to look flesh-like.
Ooh. Marcus is intrigued by that, but he sort of reaches over to the champagne and he just says, "Yep, if I pull again and end up just passed out here, you have permission to haul me out on a float plate."
You got it.
Again, Waitley shoots you both a glance and goes back to the console he's sitting at, doing what he usually does.
Duncan, I put... yeah, okay, good. I'm not muted. Duncan, I put something in the chat for you.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's easy to find based on what you said you were doing. So I was like, hey, if you look for it, if you don't look for it, if you fail the check, it means you didn't notice it. If you make the check, it means you notice that is happening. So.
We're getting some things on the ship.
Yes, you
Wait,
are.
wait,
You say
Are we talking
loud
Dex
after-
7 things, or...
Just
When you
additional
say
components.
you mean Deck 7 things?
Yeah, yes.
Jordan looks so. Jordan
If
looks
if
over
Whately
you.
hears that, he will literally immediately snap up and go, "Are we talking Deck 7 things again, sir?"
Jordan Moon looks over at you, Victor, Lieutenant Moon. He's at a console. He's basically been moving around the bridge, Eli. He really likes your ship. He's said it a couple of times. He's like, Doc, these systems are sweet. They're top of the line.
They're reward winning.
Whately waves
Deck
hi to
7
Oakley, by the way.
When you say Deck 7 things, Whately, he kind of stops, looks over at you, and says, "What's Deck 7 things?" And you all at that moment realize you're all aware of what occurred on Deck 7. You are the command staff, or were the command staff at the time. At the time, Moon was a junior helm officer. He has no idea what happened on Deck
I already
7.
know exactly what Whately would do in that exact situation. The second he says, "Wait, what do you mean Deck 7?" Whately looks over at him and says, "Do not worry about it, Ensign. It is none of your concern." And then he looks at Captain Graves and says, "Just tell me it does not happen again."
I don't think it'll happen again.
I don't think it'll happen
I don't
again.
think. Yeah, I think we're probably good.
Welcome, Starfarer Theta.
Marcus at this point does kind of look over to Kara and just says, "You feeling all right over there?"
I'm missing an arm. I've had better times in my life.
Aw. How's Nala doing with it?
She doesn't care. She's a dog.
Oh, not worried at all. I mean,
Eli hears just a brief glimpse of what Whately thinks. Yeah, she's probably chewing on it. Wait, what?
I am not going to comment. I'm gonna let he be the only one to know that.
Go fetch.
Kara starts to realize what she said and reiterates. Nala has been dealing with it the way she deals with everything, which is to say, in a dog-like fashion. She doesn't care if I've lost an arm, I'm still the same person.
And that's good.
What?
Dogs are good people.
Yes, people.
I really want to say that this scene ends with the word dog, with the words "dogs are good people."
I mean, that's a great way to end it, but I have a feeling
It
there's
really
more
is.
we want
To
to
then,
do.
after that, our 5 minute before the teaser at the beginning of the episode has occurred now, and it ends with "dogs are good people," and then we get our season 2. We don't have it yet. We have to probably find someone to do it, but we have our season 2. I mean, introduction.
Do we want to do our intro?
You can, if you have it, you can run the season.
I've got
1.
it.
It's really pretty pictures of the ship. People just have to accept that,
let's do the
we're
intro.
probably going to talk over it like we always do. So yes, dogs are good people, and then it cuts to the Reliant intro. Yup, and oh my goodness, when did you put the MST3K stuff at the bottom? Okay. Well, dude, I smoke pot. I shouldn't say that on stream. I do things that affect my memory.
You partake in the giggle bush.
I partake in the giggle bush. All right, I really like that. Oh. We all did. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just me. At least I hope it wasn't just me. But these, I will say this. Drogon did get some really nice shots of how beautiful a job Thomas did with the Reliant. I absolutely love using this ship in game, even though it's not my preferred playstyle. I just, it's so nice. Oh, you better believe that I do. I have,
Sirs, what the hell?
keep them on your bridge crew, and they still may, none of them died. So it's
by the way,
extraordinarily
we
possible they can reappear.
Just a reminder, we do have an outro with outro credits.
Oh,
That too.
okay. We'll have to do that later.
Yeah.
Just a reminder,
We
because
have an outro.
I saw what Duncan posted in chat, and I'm like, we do have an outro with the actual proper credits.
Well, awesome. I did not know that we had that, and
Yeah,
so
that's a good
dogs are good people becomes our episode title. The
I
episode
love that.
title actually is probably just simply Epsilon X. As our next scene, we're just not gonna focus on the players who aren't here, and that way they can be caught up. And all four of you plus Moon, and we do have Oakley with us in in our in-game chat on Discord. Oakley does not. Oakley is a non-voice connected player who we basically very often describe what Oakley's actions are. Oakley is an exocomp. He's a robot. A robot with a bunch of sentience, apparently. And you all walk on. Do you question, Eli? Do you? Hold
on. Before we do anything else, I have to ask a question. And this is purely a GM rule.
Mm-hmm.
We have established multiple times Oakley is not only sentient but sapient.
This Oakley is a real boy. Oakley is Pinocchio in a robot body.
Is Whately capable of reading Oakley's thoughts?
Nope.
Okay, that answers my question. Never mind. I'm not going to do
I was about to say, you wouldn't be able to read Bryce's thoughts either.
Exactly. Which is yeah, that's definitely true. The question, Eli, is whether you dock so Epsilon 10, I've looked up pictures of the Epsilon station, and it's one of those really weird 1970s looking things that they put in sci-fi. Essentially, you're looking at a station that is a monitoring station. So it's got it's got a very standard Starfleet build in the center. It's got that almost, imagine like if Earth Space Dock were shrunk down a lot. There's no like docking inside of this station. There are two dock of the kind of like, clamp docks that exist outside of Earth Space Dock. There are two of those hanging in space around Epsilon 10, and what Epsilon 10 is it's a very standard Starfleet shape of like, a tube, an oriented like top to bottom tube that the base is, built in. So a lot like Earth Space Dock,
If I may, kind of like
space.
Kind of like Starbase 1 from Discovery.
Kind of like Starbase 1 from Discovery. And the addition here is
just,
that...
Duncan just hit it perfectly.
The addition with the Epsilon stations are because they are long-range monitoring stations. There are long arms that are covered in a variety of panels that are made to... they're made to pick up all kind of transmissions, stellar phenomenon. This is a long-range monitoring station set up at the edge of explored space. It's looking out at what is, where no man has gone before, kind of thing. So that is the station that you see that you're approaching, and it has two places that you could dock right at the station. Eli, they're on the lower levels, or you can take up a holding pattern. Tell checkers, or you can even set the ship to being just on automatic, essentially, and leave it in a cruising a cruising orbit around the station. But you can either you can either transport on board, or you can dock and walk on board. What would you all like to do?
Anybody ever play pickup sticks as a kid? I didn't think that was how they designed space stations.
Well,
yeah, if you go look up a picture of the Epsilon 9 station, it looks like pickup sticks. It's the 1970s in all of its glory. It's wonderful.
There we go. That's what I was hoping you would do, Duncan, is post that picture in the... Okay, yes.
And this station, as I said, is designed a little bit differently. It's designed kind of like you grabbed a picture of the tiered star bases too, I see. So imagine the tiered star base before it gets that circle on it. Or maybe even, I like that picture. So that's what it's like in the center, with a bunch of the arms and panels like in the 1970s design.
So mash one into the other.
Yes. In this case, mash those two pictures that Duncan shared in the chat together, and you have Starbase Epsilon 10. So the question that I still have is, will you transport aboard, or will you walk aboard?
Oh, walking aboard is so much classier from the starship, so I vote for that.
Beans. I was gonna say have the computer put it in a holding pattern and around and teleport on.
Yeah,
Take care of shit.
I hate to say it, sir, but Eli's the captain here.
I was going to say, Whately glances at Duncan or Graves, and then looks at Dr. O'Connor and says, "Sir."
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, we could dock and then have it, release and hold after we dock.
I mean, it's your ship, and I'm happy not to be the captain right now.
I really don't want to have to go over to the transporter. I'd rather just walk, so dock and then checkers could hold after it. I don't want to keep up a docking spot for God knows how long.
Whately has a big shit-eating grin throughout this whole scenario, by the way.
All right, yeah, just whatever.
After you send checkers the information, he comes up to the bridge and he says, he's your character, so you could decide how he would ask for it. But he says, "Hey, after I get the ship in a holding pattern, you mind if I transport over, find my way to the bar,
All right, I know. The captain. After you're
nice.
off and we get this holding, I'm going to pop over and get some whiskey.
He goes, "Nice, I'll maybe see you there." Basically, he's just saying, "Look, as long as we're here, can I have shore leave? Can I go to the bar?"
That was me doing him, so he's just asserting he's getting shore leave.
Nice. Very good, very good. So you all walk down. You remember what those, and you can even see it in game these days, the little hallway that comes out of, the docking ring when you enter onto a space station, because you can see those on Deep Space Nine now. And this is a very similar similar sort of entrance to the similar sort of entrance to the starbase. And the main difference from what you're used to, from what you would be used to seeing on Deep Space Nine, is on Deep Space Nine you're looking at Cardassian design doors and Cardassian kind of color scheme, because the station used to be Cardassian, and much of its, design and building was all Cardassian. And so in this case, you're looking at a Federation designed starbase. So the doors aren't these big rolly, they're not these big rolling gears. They are large, of course, but they are very much standard Starfleet doors that whoosh open at your approach, rather than these doors that roll open. And you walk onto what appears to be the shipyard, as for lack of a better term. And I would try to draw it out, but I think I can explain it. Imagine an octagon sort of room. Maybe instead of a hard octagon, at the corners, maybe the corners are a little softer, and the room is almost circular, but you can definitely tell where the 8 walls are in here. In where you come walking in, kind of on the opposite side of the room, not completely opposite, it's a third of the way around the room, is you can see the other docking ring where it comes into this room as well. So it's a fairly small station, and the shipyard, though, like I say, it's an octagon, consider it a smaller room than you might be used to. When you think of Star Trek, and when you think of Star Trek Online, certainly the rooms are often huge, and that comes from a variety of reasons. Having a place to put the camera, having having the ability to move around and not feel super cramped. In this case, this room only has one station personnel in it. He is at a standing console near the only other exit from the room, which is an exit that is a standard Starfleet door leading out to a very small hallway, and it looks like there's another 2 doors in the hallway out there. There's this guy at a standing console, and he says, "Welcome aboard Epsilon. You must be some of the command crew of USS Reliant." And he looks down at his he looks down at his console, because he didn't even look down before he greeted you. He just kind of said, and now he looks down at his console and he goes, "Welcome aboard, Captain Graves."
Oh, thanks for having us aboard
And
here.
kind of he doesn't really go to much attention. So here's what we know, and here's something that we were planning about, or I was planning anyway, about how Epsilon is going to be built. And the first part of that, of how Epsilon is going to be built, is, and maybe one of you experts at the Google Doc can make this happen. There are very few. In fact, there is only one predefined member of the Epsilon 10 crew. This means that as they are introduced, and the Epsilon 10 crew is also intended, it's going to be a small crew. So people can come up with, any idea they want, and since we're streaming it as we are introducing the Epsilon 10 crew, I don't know if they can hear me, but I would say all we have so far is he, because I randomly said he when I mentioned the person on duty here. The race, the name, everything about this NPC He's one of a very small crew that works on the Epsilon station, so all of them are important in some way, and in this case, it's time to really define who this particular he that works in the shipyard area, who he is. Your chat, Nord, is the chat in Nord's Twitch stream. You are welcome to throw us some ideas. That would be great. I'd love to see you guys.
I actually have an idea that would be both hilarious and horrifying.
Go ahead.
What's
What is your horrifying idea?
Whately's brother Wilbur?
Oh no, that's horrifying. But hey,
just an idea I'm throwing out there.
So absolutely, anybody that has an idea for who this might be that is not Whately's brother.
Oh, I was typing that in.
Oh,
No, it doesn't have to be the brother you're thinking, hippie. Just, it would be hilarious if for once Whately ran into somebody that reminded him of where he came from. I think that would be fucking hilarious.
Completely normal, well-adjusted person.
Though?
Well, his name doesn't have to be Wilbur. I threw that out there because of the reasons, but it could be anything.
I know, but in my mind I went,
Chat-
Wilbur Whately? What the heck? No, we can't do that.
Well, that was literally... Yeah, never mind. Anyway,
I know.
Yeah. We had that
spoilers.
conversation. Yeah, no spoilers. And technically his brother doesn't have a name, but that's beside the point. But chat can come up with a name for Whately's brother. And it doesn't have to be a brother. It could be a sister. It could be a cousin. Hell, it could be his mom.
Okay, fine. The person
I'm just saying that would be hilarious.
Epsilon 10 is Whately's sibling. The chat the chat on Nord's Twitch stream can decide. The only thing that we now know, there are two things we now know. Actually, yeah, it could be a she. It doesn't have to be he just because I said it. The only thing that we know is that they are Betazoid like Whately. So anybody anywhere have an idea that includes, of course, Nick and Jarlin and Duncan, and in our chat, if Oakley throws something up there.
I would just suggest Helga, but then again,
oh God, that's
just want to name somebody Helga.
Well, you're thinking about working with Victor. You can kind of go for less common European names.
And I like what Meg just said, a distant relative, but it takes him a while to figure it out. That's actually a cool idea.
So someone throw out a name. Name.
Do, you don't have to take my word for it. I'm seeing a sister like Violet. Just a complete shrinking violet wallflower. Oh.
Well, also, because of the magic of me
God.
already going...
Oh, God. Really?
Yep, I'm sorry, because
post that in stream chat, Duncan.
I'm working on
because
how.
of the magic. Because of the magic that you just did with Art Breeder, is definitely Whately's sister. Named an Umbra song, Violet. Or so we're gonna have a vote. We're gonna have a quick vote.
That's just grown up Wednesday Adams.
It's either Violet or
Wednesday
Iskred.
Much cuter.
Or it's either Violet or Iskred. Everybody, tell us what name you like the best.
Violet, because I'll never be able to say the other one.
I like Violet too, personally. So that's 2 votes for Violet.
Why is it not opening?
Nick, what do you like? Violet or Iskred?
I like the one that I put in chat that no one said.
I was on the wrong page.
Oh,
no,
Janaxo. So we have a third one, Janaxo. I'm gonna stick with Violet. I don't know why. I really like the name Violet.
Yeah, because Victor, Violet, I kind of dig
Yeah,
that as
Victor
well.
and Violet, it works together. So we have 1, 2, 3 votes for Violet, 4 votes for Violet because of NXO Meg voting for Violet too.
Her childhood nickname was Violent. Oh, I like that, Kara. Yeah, she bullied. Oh, she's the older sister. She bullied Victor. She is exactly why Victor ran away to Starfleet and being a counselor and being a chaplain. She is exactly why Victor ran away from his entire family and why he never talks about it. I think yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that works. I like that. I like that a bunch. She is an operations officer who works in the shipyard, and you recognize her, and she recognizes you as soon as you walk on. And she looks up and she says, "You must be some of the command." When she says that part, she actually looks right at you, Victor, and she's like, "You must be some of the command crew of the USS Reliant." And she looks down and goes, welcome aboard, Captain Graves. Is there anything I can do for you here in the shipyard? Except let you know when your ship arrives.
Well, the ship would be a very welcome addition to this whole, operation here. I'm just wondering about ETA on some of the other crew members.
Yeah, when's my dog get here?
She zips her fingers across her little panel, and she says, "It looks like the rest of your command crew will be arriving. They're within the hour. Most of your crew is going to arrive. Most of your junior crew will arrive with Reliant in a day. 2 days, actually. Sorry, it'll officially be 2 days. It'll arrive in the middle of what we call night here."
What about not? I don't think we got that one to stick, but Nala, K9, and Setsa Jagoro.
That'll take me a minute. She actually holds up her hand and is like, "That will take me just a minute." And she does. She says, Nala, K9, en route with Reliant, be here in 1 day. Setsa Jagoro, en route with Reliant, be here in 1 day.
All right. Yeah. Thank you much.
Yeah, so it basically, you can imagine that Setsa is taking care of Nala for the moment.
Cool.
I'm posting something. Just a sec.
Awesome. So all of you can certainly notice that the operations officer, and remember that you all now, and this includes you, Waitley, are assigned and this is strange for the counselor, because many times the counselor is exempt from uniform code, and you are still exempt from uniform code when you're performing your duties as counselor in your office, but you are no longer exempt from uniform code on board the bridge or on mission, or anytime you're not in your office being a counselor, you have to be wearing your uniform, and you have the choice of the black gray shouldered uniform or the medical uniform that Eli is doubtlessly wearing.
My kind of headcanon for Waitley is because he's chaplain and counselor.
Mm-hmm.
He leans more toward the chaplain, which is an all-black uniform, but it has the white stripe, and then he has the clerical color.
The all-blacks...
He wears the badge, and he has his rank and all that, but it's all black with a white stripe, and then he has the white clerical color, is kind of how I envision
that
Waitley.
Totally works, except it still looks like an Odyssey uniform, so it's I have no idea what my background noise is. I'm really sorry, guys. What we have, what you have is the black uniform with the gray shoulders and a white stripe.
Okay, that'll work. That's fine.
It's the Odyssey. It's basically the Odyssey uniform for non-admiral, non-commanding officers.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is. She has the same Odyssey uniform on that all of you do, wearing operations colors. So, yeah, wow, we have just added Victor Whately's sister to the ongoing story, who works at the Starbase, and she says, "I will let you know as soon as Reliant arrives."
And by the way, I just want to point out, as soon as Whately sees her and recognizes her, he just nods and then literally about fronts and goes back to what he was doing and completely ignores her.
So she was a bully when you were a kid. I will let either the first person who says it in your chat or you decide if she is a bully as an adult. Yes or no?
I'm gonna let chat decide, because I already know exactly why I think she would be a bully.
Okay, so yes or no. The first word in Nord's stream chat will be whether she is a bully as an adult too. No, she is not a bully as an adult.
Okay.
And we can thank DWayne09 for that. So what you get from her, Whately, is in your mind, I bet you know what I bet it is? I bet in your mind, it's hard to get past the bullying that she did. And so even when she is being sincere, you think she's still being a bully.
So one of the things about Betazoid culture, and this is why I made Whately the way I made him, for those who paid attention to the Troys and TNG and the whole lore they built up for Betazoids, is that men are always extremely weak when it comes to telepathy. It's always the women who are powerful. That is what makes...
That is true. I forget that,
makes
but you're right.
Victor so unique, is that he is a very, very powerful telepath
which
is male. And so that's what I'm seeing in my head canon for this. And this was not something that I originally envisioned for the character. It was just like, let's throw that out there because it'll be funny. But as soon as it was like, oh yeah, she was a bully to him, like I already know exactly why. He was a powerful telepath as a child, and she wasn't. I
love that as the reason she was a bully. And when basically everybody can see the resemblance. It's, the picture that Duncan made for it is, you can see the resemblance. Like, shockingly, Whately makes an attractive woman.
Or at least a more attractive woman than man.
Hey, who's the person that got laid the most on this ship?
Yes, chat is merciful. The thing that you get, Whately, she does send you a quick thought, and she says, I'm proud of it. And what you get is just a quick thought. She's not trying to, push, because she knows that you still, she probably knows that you still carry some, resentment and stuff. So she just sends a quick thought, I'm proud of you, little brother. You haven't seen her for, probably, outside of a family function.
Yeah, probably a good 10, 20 years.
Probably not that long. I'm thinking, because
before he went to the academy.
Yeah, it's probably a good 4 to 6 years since you have talked to her.
So
he went to the academy before you,
Okay, fair enough. So before she went to the academy, okay. So he stops.
Actually, yeah, she went to the academy. She's exactly old enough to have gone to the academy, and graduated right before you started. So you never had to deal with her being there.
Okay. So when she does that, he stops.
How's that sound?
He hesitates.
But she still bullied you the whole time she was in college, essentially.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She was
So he stops.
In the academy.
He hesitates. He glances back at her, and he gives her the patented Whately disapproves look, and all she hears in her head is a resounding, thundering, "I don't." And then he goes back to what he was doing.
Right on. And all of you are welcome aboard Station Epsilon 10 with the information that your ship will arrive in 1 day. The shipyard is connected to again, this station is very small, and because the station is so small, the shipyard is the only thing aside from a very minor, call it an engineering closet. It's like the smallest room that controls something for the engineering team. None of you are engineers. You don't even know what this room down here is. There's nobody even in it right now. So the other thing is a turbo lift that takes you up to the main level of Station Epsilon 10. And the main level of Station Epsilon 10 is an open floor plan where basically imagine, in my mind I say, imagine the Dyson sphere fleet holding, where it's this kind of open circular area, and off of that open area there is a bar that's we can name the bar. It's a Federation bar. It's they probably serve synthahol, and if they've got a good bartender in there, he probably has some kind of alcohol.
Can I play the
for
good
the most
bartender?
part, it's a place to eat and a place to drink. There's a sitting bar and a bunch of tables. There is up to you guys, like a dartboard or a pool table. I like the pool table. There's a pool table in there, and if you want Grimnir to be the bartender, he could certainly put in his application.
That's actually not what I was going to suggest. That's not what I wanted to do. I liked the way you were thinking, but no, that's not what I was thinking.
So in the description, it's this open area that has a bar off of it. There are a number of consoles for different things. Some of them are just information consoles. There is one console in this main room that looks it's manned by someone. We don't have to define them yet. It's manned by someone, and it appears to Moon recognizes it right away. Jordan Moon recognizes that console is the console that is used by the operations chief or the chief or the deck officer to assign people where they need to be for the day. Chief operations officer works there. He knows that. There are other consoles. Kind of picture a little bit of K7 combined with something that looks a bit more modern and comfortable. There are places for people to sit and talk. There is off of, like the bar is offset from the room, there are also a couple of meeting rooms that are offset from the room. And up above, there is a deck with a glass wall that you can see inside, and you can see that is very obviously the command deck. That is where you can look up there and go, aha, the captain's, the commander's office, probably the first officer's office, probably main station control, everything is probably up there. There is a medical facility, but not on the main deck. That's a very good question that I just got in chat. The medical facility is not on the main deck. It is one level down, along with all the science labs.
Considering how small the station is, I would imagine the medical deck is basically a medical deck.
It's basically a medical deck with, as I described, the small shipyard and having the hallway also have like an engineering closet in it. It's a room, but it's a really small room. And the medical deck is very similar in that most of the deck is the med bay. But there is a hallway that also has 2 small science labs, which could be used either as a science lab or a med lab. You just didn't stop at that deck is all. And that is the station that you see in front of you. The main level also has a very obvious... it's not a completely detached room. It's just a section where the transporter pads are not directly in this big main open room. The only thing in the big main open room is the transporter control, which shockingly, you've never seen something. I'm guessing none of you have ever seen something that looks quite as comfortable as the officer who gets to work the transporter. Instead of this like standing panel that that they have to stand at and do things, there is a panel in the wall with the transporter controls. And they are sitting in a very, standard, comfortable Starfleet chair. Their job is to basically sit in a chair and press a few buttons on the transporter control that is on the wall right next to and in front of them. It looks super comfortable.
Chief O'Brien would be proud.
What's that?
I said Chief O'Brien would be proud.
Chief O'Brien would be proud. Yes, it's the I'm imagining it literally as the chief of operations or someone on the station thought to themselves, why would I stand all day when I can sit down? That just makes no sense.
Like what Umbra just said, Chief O'Brien would be jealous.
Yes, you all have, as soon as you arrive, your personal communication devices that, that also have the ability to store data. You all see that in, let's say you're arriving in the afternoon, so in 3 hours, how does 3 hours sound? In 3 hours is a debriefing with all of you are to be debriefed together. It's 3 hours because that gives the rest of the command staff time to arrive and settle in. You have assigned quarters for the one day that you're going to be here, and that gives, as I said, that gives the rest of the command staff the ability to settle in and the ability to still make it to this debriefing. You can see the meeting room here off of the main room. It's the meeting room on the left from where you're looking at the room right now is where Ensign Phillip Cray is set to give you a debriefing. Along with Quentin, Elenis, and Rick Tier. They will also be at the briefing. And shockingly, I think that Moon and Bryce would also be Bryce definitely, and since Moon now has a senior position on the ship, he would also be assigned to be at the debriefing, interestingly enough.
So Kara looks at her pad and then looks over at Eli. So how long will it take you to give me my arm back?
It shouldn't be too long. Like I said, just got to finish up the last little bits, and that's still on the ship. I forgot to grab the case. Damn it.
Right. Point. Is it less than 3 hours?
The answer is yes. I'd like Kara to have her arm back by the time you're at the debriefing. As a storyteller, I just would appreciate that.
All right, it's going to be less than 3 hours.
I'll meet you in the medical deck. Go get your shit.
Just before I do this question, do you want this one where you can just detach whenever, or do you want it just like always on?
If I can take it off, that makes it easier to fix.
All right, good. Then I'll install the sensor pad on there, so you can just take it off whenever.
That's true. That's awesome.
Appreciate it, Doc. Thanks.
What great thinking.
So Marcus at this point is just sort of like, I'm feeling a little like he's thinking to himself that he's feeling a little queasy about the idea that Kara can simply detach her arm, and he just sort of hits him like, yeah. So at this point, he just sort of nods to the others and is like, yeah, I think I'll just hang out in the bar area until someone pulls me out for the debriefing.
Oh, Whately is gonna bump past Graves and grab him by the shoulder, look at him and say, nothing is what it seems. Do not ever let them think that you know. He's just gonna nod and then carry on to his assigned quarters.
Marcus blinks and is just like, okay, and he just walks to the bar.
That's brilliant. I'm recovering from the laughing at that. I had to mute myself and unmute myself now. What the hell is wrong with you, Whately?
He's fucking Whately! What do you think is wrong with him?
It's Whately. What could possibly be wrong with him? In the bar area, there is, of course, a bartender who we will have to define, and there is a what chat is it in? Oh no. What chat is your magic picture of, or maybe you just have a link to it, your magic picture of, if you do have a link to it, just share it in the chat for Nord's people. The captain, the Commander Futagami.
Yeah, that's
because she is aside from two officers who are playing pool, she is the only person in the bar besides the bartender right now.
Okay, I don't have that on this computer, so
it's in. You put it in one of our chats somewhere.
I know, but it's going to be one of those things that's tracking it down. Yeah, so let's just kind of keep moving. I'll work on this in the background.
We'll just keep moving.
Yeah, keep moving with game time.
We'll just keep moving. And what you have is you see two officers who are playing pool. We can define what they look like. If anybody in chat wants to be like, oh, one of them is this, great. One of them is that then. But we also can we can also say eventually people will see what Commander Shota, I think it is, Futagami looks like. She is an old Foundry contact that existed on Earth Space Dock from the days of long ago. And
there it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Duncan
Boom.
found it.
That is her. We can share that for Nord's chat. Is that what you just shared?
Yep.
That is Duncan's magic with Art Breeder being used on the original NPC to make her look like a real person. And aside from two officers who are playing pool and the bartender who is about to get defined and added to the list of important people that we know, the only person at the bar is Commander Futagami, who is the commanding officer of... She has been assigned as the commanding officer of Station Epsilon 10.
So Marcus at this point is basically head down. He's just going to the bar, and he knows he's had a lot to drink at this point, so he's just going to go for a non-alcoholic. So he'll just pick up a Soma Cola.
Cola, that's awesome. She's also at the bar. The question is, there's one person at the bar, and you don't recognize her as the commander yet. You just don't recognize her as the commander yet. And do you sit near that person or a few chairs away?
Oh, Marcus is going to do he's not going to sit like near he's going to sit a polite distance away, not like on the complete opposite end of the bar, but just with enough space that you're basically occupying the space as efficiently as possible. You're not getting in anyone's space, so it's a carefully calibrated optimum of public bar sitting that Marcus just knows by habit.
So 2 chairs in between.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like the commonly accepted distance to sit at a bar. And so you sit 2 seats away from her. You order a cola. I'm going to give everyone, the players and Nord's chat, a moment here, because we have reached the hour and a half point. Which means that it's time for a 5 to 10 minute break. Everybody can stretch their legs, that kind of thing. And the last thing that happens before we take the one commercial break of our episode is after Captain Graves sits down a comfortable distance from the other person at the bar and orders a cola. The person 2 chairs away, in a somewhat relaxed tone, glances over and says, "I figured you more for a beer guy, Captain Graves." She stands right, like she looks over at you, says, "I imagined you more of a beer guy, Captain Graves." And she stands up and closes the distance between you, extends her hand and says, "Commander Shoka Futagami, welcome to my station." And that's where we cut for a commercial break, is the introduction of Commander Futagami.
And we're back.
And that was 10 seconds. Wow, that's funny. We both counted the exact same amount.
That's beautiful.
Smooth transition. We're good at that. We are back into the episode of Star Trek Reliant that introduces us to the starbase, which actually Reliant calls home, and a few of the characters that are part of that starbase. And we left a moment ago with Commander Futagami, the commanding officer of the starbase. There's a picture in all kind of chats all over the place of what Futagami looks like. And she is, as I stated before we took a quick break, she's one thing we had in the Foundry when we used to make missions were a number of contacts that were placed on cryptic maps so that you could say you needed to have a place to start your mission. You go up and talk to this person and the mission begins, or etc. You could even have them as contacts in a mission. And this character Shoto Futagami, or Shota, I'll have to look it up to be 100% sure, but this character Commander Futagami was a Foundry contact way back when, and because of that I like to bring as much of the Foundry back into this game as possible. So she is the commanding officer of Starbase Epsilon 10, and she just walked over to Marcus, who ordered a cola, and she had said, "I figured you more for a beer guy, Captain Graves." Walked over, held out her hand, and said, "Commander Futagami, welcome to my station." And it picks up with her sitting down in the chair, and that's right next to you. And
One
I
quick
know we're
correction.
gonna get there. I promise. This
Okay.
is just a moment. It picks up with her sitting down in the chair next to you and says, "We haven't had the and she says, "We haven't had the pleasure of meeting in person." And now we are in the medical bay. Because we pick up where we left off and then do the scene change to the medical bay, which is a smaller medical bay than you are used to, Eli. This is smaller than the medical bay aboard the Reliant. Not by much, but definitely smaller than the medical bay aboard the Reliant. And there is, I'm going to say that the medical staff consists of a doctor and 2 nurses. There's maybe another doctor that's not here. So the chat or Eli or any of you can create personality and description of the doctor and 2 nurses that are available in the medical bay to help you get Kara's new arm attached. That is where we are picking up this scene, is the 2 of you in the med bay. Smaller med bay than you're used to.
I imagine we were imagining this to be happening after it had been attached.
Okay, that's great. That's cool too. It has just been attached, and you're able to have your moment after it's been attached in the med bay, or even if you'd prefer to be somewhere else, we can do that too.
I'm gonna stick in the mid bay.
Okay.
Well, I have to admit that this is nice, Doctor. She flexes the hand. Oh, feels pretty good. She looks over at the empty cup of coffee that Eli had brought on. It's a little metal cup. She reaches out quickly with her left hand, picks it up, and crushes it.
I was just about to warn you about that. You're going to have to get used to coordinating it.
Groovy. I think I'm pretty good at coordinating it already, considering that's what I meant to do.
Okay. Okay. Bill,
She drops the shattered remains of the cup.
You might need to train with it just a little bit. So, is there any pain?
No, everything feels fine. She taps on the table. I can feel almost like everything is normal.
You should be able to feel better after a while. And I mean, like,
Excellent.
actually feel things better, not just, feel better that you have an arm back.
Hey, so she stands up. Thanks a lot. She pulls him into a hug.
Eli hugs back. I was about to ask if you've been having phantom pains.
I have not. Did I hug you too tightly? She lets go immediately.
You just squeezed my shoulder a bit hard. Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, sorry. Maybe I will need to work on this a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Still, I had meant to crush the cup.
You want a drink? It's on me for your recovery.
No, thanks. We're about to go into a briefing. I'd rather not be drunk enough to punch out this guy.
Alright, so just a reminder, you're going to want to go through, like, physical therapy, not just, not just about the arm, but just, your shoulder as well, because that's new as well. And I'm definitely going to recommend you talk with Waitley, like, set up a few sessions.
If you say so. I mean, I'm fine with the physical therapy. I'm less fine sitting in the same room as Waitley. That guy's just getting creepier.
Yeah. As he's my friend, but just a little bit.
Right, well, ready for the briefing?
I'm glad I was muted. I'm glad I was muted right there, because when you said that guy's just getting creepier, I lost it.
I literally had to bite my lip.
Oh, that's awesome.
Meeting.
So people are prepared for the meeting almost. Commander Futagami, as your officers are walking... Oh, not that picture.
Damn it,
are walking
Duncan.
back as your... as your officers are seeing what Epsilon 10 looks like and such, and moving toward where the meeting is going to be. Futagami, she doesn't fully sit down in the chair next to you, Marcus. She does that, like, half sit, like, half stand kind of thing. And she's got what looks like a rocks glass with, your guess is whiskey. You've seen enough of the whiskey that Ged drinks and that you drink and that Eli drinks, and she's got a rocks glass with some whiskey in it, and she says, she said, "Welcome to my station. We haven't had the pleasure of meeting in person. I've enjoyed the attitude that you bring to the... I enjoyed, rather, call it, the attitude that you brought to the table when Command ordered the Second Fleet to do what we were ordered to do. I'm never going to be happy. She says, I'm never going to be happy about lost lives, Captain, but you did a very, very commendable job out there. You can tell that she's had a few whiskeys. She's maybe not as drunk as Marcus, but she's definitely had a couple of whiskeys. She's not completely sober when she's telling you did a commendable job out there, Captain.
Graves at this point is just basically at this point like this level of like I'm still not quite ready for command mode yet, so he's just sort of nods, takes it in stride, and just like, yep, thanks. I mean, it was a difficult assignment, and we pulled through as best we could. So, my hope, though, is just that we can get back to some good old-fashioned exploration and not charge headlong into a Orion blockade.
He hears a slight thought in the back of his head.
You say that, and she raises her glass and says, "Oh, sorry, Waitley. What were you saying?"
I was just going to say, he hears a slight thought in the back of his head. He doesn't know where it's coming from, but what he hears is she's not being quite as honest as she seems to be.
Marcus, at this point, is just like, he has a suspicion that it's Waitley, but at the same time, he's like, this could also just be my psyche breaking down. So he just sort of shakes his head and takes a... I was going to say, that's
not the first time that's happened.
Yep, you say, rather not charge headlong into a blockade full of Orions, and she says, well, as far as we can tell, the Syndicate has moved all of their system operations to, what was the name of the planet again that I keep forgetting?
Lapadas.
Lapadas. She says the Syndicate that has operations in the Epsilon Sector right now have moved everything to Lapadas. So we're probably going to be okay as long as we manage to keep the peace with their shipments. They're so far sticking to the deal that they set up. So let's just hope it stays that way. She raises her whiskey glass and she says, now, why is there someone from the Department of
Wow, she is drunk.
Herself. She says, why is there someone from the Department of Temporal Integrity on board my station?
I've got absolutely no idea. And he says that completely deadpan.
Yep, I've got that. I've got absolutely no idea. And she says, I really hoped you knew more than I did. Finishes her whiskey. She finishes her whiskey and says, well, you've got a meeting in a couple of hours. Let's hope that you find out more than I do. She puts her glass down on the bar and she heads off, but not. Well, do you say something to her before she gets ready to head off?
Yeah, before she heads off, he's basically he says, well, knowing the missions we've had, either future selves have totally screwed something up and we're going to have to fix it, or the Admiral Quinn's protege has totally messed something up and we have to go fix it, or they just want to make sure that we're not going to go touch something we shouldn't, or alternatively make sure we touch something we shouldn't. So ultimately, it's hard to say. We'll probably find out in the meeting, but either way, I think it's going to be a headache. But for right now, I'm content to just sit here and not worry about anything that's coming.
It'll give me a headache. For right now, I'm content to sit here and not worry. And in a nod to Star Trek Voyager, she looks at you as she set her glass down and she's like ready to turn to leave. And she goes, "Past is the present is the past, the future is. It all just gives me a headache." And she walks out.
Marcus at this point also queries kind of the ship station status to see where Kara, Eli, and Waitley are, just to sort of, just see if anything's come up. But otherwise, he's just going to be enjoying the ambiance of the bar. And its bartender,
who is incredibly beautiful. But yeah, what sticks to my mind, Whately, is even though I imagine, since she is not a Starfleet officer, she has not had to. This is another thought I had while everything that we've been playing out here has been going on. The reason that Ilya had to take a vow of celibacy was that she was a Starfleet officer. In order to join Starfleet, she had to do that.
That's true, but...
Vix is not a Starfleet officer,
This
and
is
therefore
true.
may not have taken that vow.
This is... Okay. All right.
It's just a thought.
Yeah. Well, and passing NPC, I thought it would be fun to play her that way. So Marcus leans into the bar, and the absolutely gorgeous, teeny tiny, dark-haired, absolutely luscious looking woman behind the bar that served him a sweet tea earlier when he asked for a cola leans forward and says, "What you want, sugar? Tell me what you need."
He stifles the immediate reaction, which is kind of he's feeling from his past of alone time, but he just says, "Well, right now I'd settle for some sentient human or sentient." He's like, "Oh crap! I'm not going to say the word companionship." So he struggles like, just someone to talk to. I guess not to. I don't know. It's been a hell of a week."
She quirks an eyebrow and says, "Sugar, are you sure you just want to be drinking cola, or do you want to drink a little more whiskey? Because I got lots of good whiskey here."
I had beer and wine before I came aboard the station, and I've got a temporal meeting in about 3 hours.
Hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
As he says wine, the doors just open. It was champagne! And I enter the bar.
She looks over, like she immediately snaps up. She looks over, she goes, "Was it real champagne, sugar?"
You're damn right it was.
Fair enough.
Okay, so the bar scene comes to an amusing conclusion. The next NPC, by the way, their name cannot start with V. That was just a thought, right? Their name cannot start with V. We can't have a whole station of V names. The
next one's got to start with E.
The next scene is
or X.
We see all of you enter, however you wish to be entering. Moon went to check into his quarters, and he explored the station a little bit. There's more than just the main floor that you came to. Like he went, there are 4 decks, maybe 5 decks. I don't know, maybe even more. But it's a small station. So he went down to the shipyard and hung out with Victor's sister for a while and was like, "What does this do? What does this do?" And he went to the main engineering deck and walked around and kind of had a tour of how their operations work here and Moon just had a solid good time checking out the station and is ready to walk into the meeting when everyone else does. Even though the players are not here, Alanis Kendra, Quentin Reynolds and Rick Tier are all either already in the room or, entering the room, and all of you can see. I posted his picture in chat. I went and found it on the Star Trek wiki. We can probably find it on... Anybody can find it super, super fast by looking up Ensign Phillip Cray. The room...
Yeah.
Yeah, in the room is it's the guy who at level 20 gives you all of your rewards from all of your different recruit characters. He is at the far end of a table big enough to fit your to fit all of your senior staff, and walking not in there with Rick and Elenis and Quentin is Bryce. How did I forget Bryce's name? Is Bryce. He is walking up at about the same time of one of you. Certainly one of you is arriving with Bryce. And that is what it is a small meeting room with kind of like that you know how Captain Picard and the crew of the Enterprise used to meet around that like one table in the briefing room, and
they had a conference room.
Conference room. That's kind of what this room is like. There's enough space for all of you, and once you all have walked into the room, Cray puts his hand on a pad that is on the that's on the table in front of him, and you see something that none of you have ever seen before. You see self-replicating technology for the very first time as he slides the pad just the moment he starts to slide it forward, it begins to split into like 7 or 8 versions of the pad, and when he does so, he shoves it forward and they slide across the table and set themselves one of them right in front of each of you. And he says, so that is 28th century technology, I kind of forget, and welcome. And he presses a button on...
Before he can say anything else, simply looks at it and goes, neat trick, but does it work in reverse?
Yes, and he presses a button. He just says yes, as if he's like happy to be able to say yes. He's not like pompous about it. He's just like, yes, he thinks it's a really cool thing, basically. You can tell that the self-replicating pad that he just sent out there makes him really happy. It's something that he likes. He presses a button, and the window that is connecting this room to the main room of this main floor here kind of darkens, and he says, welcome to the Department of Temporal Integrity. You are all uniquely positioned. You're uniquely positioned to be impossible to make not know what you already know.
So I wanna.
He says, before any of you have anything to say, I want to look at you, Lieutenant Moon, and let you know that you do not have to stay for this briefing. You are here as one of the new command staff of Reliant. We would, for the entire command staff, be up to date, but as you do not yet know everything, you don't have to stay. Moon looks really curious, guys. Just Moon looks really curious, and he looks at the captain and he says, Captain, what do you think I should do? He looks at you, Graves.
Yeah, so Marcus is going to be saying at this, or he's going to just say at more at what Cray just said. He's like, if you want to skip a Moon, you can. I can certainly explain all the madness to you later. If you want to stay, kick up your feet. It's really up to you right now. Either way, you're probably going to get roped into this. So
Moon then looks at Kara, and he says, "What do you think I should do, boss?" He's never called you boss before.
Marcus is
first time. And when he says that, what do you think I should do, boss? Kara, you think that is him telling you something that he's never told you before, and that's he learned from you in order to get the promotion he has now. And he definitely feels that. So he says, and what do you think I should do, boss? Like, it's not like he he doesn't disregard what Marcus says. He's just asking two people.
Except Marcus is thinking like, wait, did I say something wrong? Because he's not going to be able to interpret what that reaction fully is.
Yeah. First off, I'm not your boss anymore. Second, well, that depends.
Rolls his eyes.
How bad do you want a headache? Because believe me, this temporal stuff is all headache.
I mean, she's not wrong.
She's not wrong. He looks across the table at Cray and he says, if rest of my crew is in, sir, I'm in.
So
Cray says, very well.
I really need to do what Whately would do in this situation.
Do it.
So Whately would have been the last person in the room. He would have been actually quite a bit late showing up to the meeting. When he shows up and the meeting gets underway, he'd be sitting there looking very forlorn, distracted, not really paying that much attention. And then when Cray did the whole thing with the pads, he would have like immediately stood up and like eyes in shock. And then when he started explaining everything, he would have sat down and just resumed his usual Whately appearance. No forlornness, no sadness, no distraction, just paying rapt attention. But Graves would have heard something in his head, and not in the back of his head, just very strongly. He would have known it was from Whately. Just because he says this is the truth does not mean that it is. That's it. That's all I wanted to put it there.
Marcus is going to also kind of try his best to mentally reply. Basically, his message back is, considering what happened on our last mission, and this is still Starfleet, I'm still going to look for my own answers as well.
And I'm fairly certain, Hippie, you know exactly what Whately would be doing in this situation.
Are you reading? Let me guess. You're trying to read Ensign Cray.
Oh, I'm not trying to read Ensign Cray. I'm trying to delve the depths of his mind, and I'm trying to read him like I read a goddamn planet.
You're trying to do the big stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You may make a insight command, which gives you a 15. Attainment. Pardon me. Your focus of attainment of self-realization will apply, so you will crit on a 4 or less. Your target number is a 15.
All right, so 2d20, 15, 4. Correct?
Yes.
4 successes.
What the fuck? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. You have to mute the fuck on your screen.
Phillip Cray is now his thrall.
So, everybody in Nord's chat, the thing that just made me react like that is when you roll dice for successes in this game, a crit means you get 2 successes. And the lower the number, the better it is. A focus like Whately has allows your critical number to be higher than just a 1. What Nord
puts us
just
at
did
2 Dementum,
was
right?
rolled 2 1s. That is the absolute best roll that can be made in the game. Essentially, unless you've used unless you, this is actually, yes, a
Yeah,
first
I think
time
that is a first.
this has ever happened.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Oh, has that happened
Remember,
before?
the first time we were on the Borg ship and Kara went up to pin Space Mom with a, transport me up.
Oh,
Kara
that's
rolled
right.
number
I
one.
forgot about that.
1-1. This is our second 1-1, which is an incredible roll. So Whately, as Cray begins to talk, and he's like, 28th century technology. Really cool stuff. Whately, you start picking up on Cray. You're like, okay, he is very excited right now. That's the first thing you pick up. And Kara is like, yeah, but does it work in reverse? And he's like, yeah, it does. And he darkens the windows and offers to Moon to be able to leave the room. And Whately, you start to feel another Phillip Cray. And as the exchange with Moon and Graves and Kara takes place, you start to feel even another Phillip Cray, and another and another. Lots of Phillip Cray is right in front of you. There are so many Phillip Crays in front of you, you start to lose count.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And all of them, Whately,
Are telling the truth.
are telling the truth. And it only, because you got 4 successes there, it is not hard for you to figure out. I mean, you're a skilled telepath, and you have to try to understand, like, what am I feeling in front of me? What you're feeling is the fact that Phillip Cray does not exist only in this moment, only in this here and now. Every version of Phillip Cray is a timeline of his entire life.
Phillip Cray is the master of past and present.
Yes, what you've got going on is that either some equipment that he has, technology, something, but what you're reading is every moment of his lifeline having a presence, some stronger, some weaker, in this moment with where he is now, and all of them are telling the truth. He has no, he certainly has no stake in whether Moon stays or goes. But the thing before that no one else will ever know is if Moon decided, I don't want to know this, the rest of you would never have been able to tell him.
Okay.
Because everything that's said in this room is about to become uber classified.
Gotcha.
And that's in fact where we pick up again with Cray saying, everything I'm about to tell you is classified at what would be the level right beneath an Omega. The Omega locks a ship down.
Well, that's
He says everything I'm about to tell you is classified at whatever level. I'd like, I want to keep us moving forward. It's classified at whatever level is right beneath.
Do you mind if I have a quick scene real quick?
Go right ahead.
Based
Marcus,
off that roll?
I just want to say, Marcus, you recognize that what he just classified this briefing as is the only thing more secretive than this is if an Omega particle appeared on your computer screens. So, and go ahead, Whately.
So, as soon as Whately has that experience, he basically pulls a cue and pulls Graves into his mind. Like, full, white screen. It's just them there, nobody else. And he literally grabs him by the shoulder and says, I don't know what the fuck is going on here, but he ain't lying. And you need to do what he says to do.
Marcus, at hearing Chaplain Whately
as soon as Whately says that, it goes back to literally the moment where Phillip Cray says, this is that level of security.
Nice.
And Marcus is just like all together. It's just like, oh, okay, I'm going to play good. And I will sit here and I will take the briefing.
As everything that we're about to discuss is classified at this level of, whether it is classified at alpha, alpha 12 level clearance, which normally only a ship's captain and first officer might hear. And now here your entire senior staff is hearing it. And he says, unfortunately, you were all, with the launch of your ship coming far sooner than many imagined that the design would launch. Almost a year. We launched, Reliant launched, Starfleet commanded the launch almost a year before anyone expected, and for the most part, no one really knew why. And unfortunately, the reason why is because you've been visited by Section 31. He says if you'll have a look on the pads, and he taps the one in front of him, and all of your pads come up with full information about Section 31. Says, unfortunately, you have been visited by Section 31.
Yeah,
They are... He says they are not officially sanctioned by Starfleet in any way, and sometimes their interference has led to positive outcomes, sometimes their interference has led to negative outcomes, but regardless, they put something aboard Reliant, and most of you already know what that is. Moon
Marcus
looks up a little confused.
Whately just looks around at everybody and goes, mm-hmm.
Marcus at this point says, "Is it Oakley?"
Says, no, it's, and
If
Cray
you guys
says,
could see
no,
the look on my face right now.
Cray says, no, it's not Oakley.
Does this mean I have to go fly the Reuben James again?
Deck 7.
Don't tell me that ship's
He
in trouble again.
He says, no, in fact,
Graves
Franklin-
literally hears Whately screaming into his head, Deck 7, motherfucker.
Yep, he says, no, fortunately, your interaction with Section 31 is one of the ones that we in the Temporal Integrity Division, we consider one of the more positive outcomes of Section 31 interfering in Starfleet affairs. However, the agent named Franklin Drake, who we've been unable to pin down in any way, did leave something aboard your ship which was discovered during the refit. As soon as it was discovered, it came immediately to the desks of the Department of Temporal Integrity. And having a look at things, having a look at the timeline, and seeing how many of you were affected and have full knowledge. Basically, it's your entire crew, except for who we moved off during this crew transfer. That's one of the reasons so many crew transfers occurred.
Okay, as soon as that is said, Whately actually, perks up wait, what? He doesn't say that, but that's anybody paying attention to him, that would be their perception of his reaction. Wait, what?
He says there are a number of moving pieces in the timeline, and your map is capable of showing them the thing that he left aboard your ship. And once the Department of Temporal Integrity had a look at things, we have installed a full suite of temporal modifications to your essentially Deck 7.5. It's been expanded. You are now capable of, looks over at Quentin, because he knows that Quentin is the one who is closest to knowing what he's about to say. He says, with the proper mapping, you'll be able, gaze kind of falls back over the rest of the table, you'll be able to time travel.
Marcus putting the pieces together.
Commands will come from the official Department of Temporal Integrity, not a guy named Franklin Drake.
So, basically what I'm hearing is that because this thing has been installed on my ship, we are being used as temporal agents. Effectively, we're already compromised, you could say, from an organic timeline. And
You were already compromised, so his face turns to that GIF that we just put in the chat. He's like, "Yep, you were already compromised. We have no way of uncompromising you. So we may as well take advantage of the fact that you are all now compromised."
How long are we talking about, though, in terms of, say, a transfer of service career?
In terms of transfer of service career, there is no transfer of service. You are to remain one of the secondary ships in the second exploration fleet, with the ability to open a temporal gateway. Big enough for your ship to travel through. So maybe he looks over at Rick Tier and he says, maybe with the proper work of your engineering team, the gateway could be expanded. I'm not an engineer. I'm a mission. I'm a debriefer.
So does this mean I'm going to have to learn how to fly through time as well as space?
He says it's really not that much different.
You just said you're ops and you're not a pilot. How do you know it's not much different?
Waitley raises his hand.
Doesn't he goes he like you catch Waitley, you catch that he was just trying to like make Kara feel better about flying through time. And you catch that he really doesn't know if it's about the same, and he goes, "Okay, so it feels about the same when you're just writing it."
Waitley raises his hand and says, once there's a pause, he's like, "If I may." And he looks
Everybody
around.
kind of looks over at you.
He looks around the room to see if everybody gives him permission to speak.
Yep.
Cray certainly quiets and looks at you.
We have all found ourselves in an extremely unique position. Whether it is risky or not does not matter. We have the ability and the, may I say, and he looks at Cray when he says this, the commandment to change time. It is up to us. It is upon us. It is our moral onus to do this, whether it destroys us or not.
I vote for, 1, not changing time without knowing the full repercussions, and 2, not destroying ourselves.
Kara holds up a hand.
Cray says, "I'm going to go with your captain on this one. Let's not change time unless we've really researched what we're about to do."
As soon as he says that, Waitley just looks at him.
Keep you all alive.
Waitley just looks at him and gives him the Waitley look, but doesn't say anything.
He looks over at you, Kara.
So, like, I'm generally always on the edge of being kicked out of Starfleet. When and if that happens, are you going to arrange an accident for me?
He pauses for a moment, like this is new information for him. Like he had no idea that you're.
He hasn't read a record.
He has. His mission is to tell you what it means to now be considered able to take missions from the DTI, right? That's his whole thing here. And he looks over like this is almost new information, and he says, "I would prefer to work it out that you stopped almost getting kicked out of Starfleet."
Hey, don't blame me, man.
You say, "Hey,
all
don't
right.
blame me, man." And you don't need Whately's telepathic powers to understand that his reaction to, "Hey, don't blame me, man," is, "Wow, I was talking about like cooking the books." Like in his mind, like he doesn't think of it as cooking the books, but he's thinking of like, yeah, the position that you guys are in now. If he has to, he can like alter records and like make Kara's life a whole lot easier.
Kara definitely didn't pick that up. He was just like, yeah, he figured, or she figured, he's like, yeah, you need to do better. And Kara's like, I'm doing fine.
Right? You're like, I'm doing fine. So Whately, you are the only one who picks that up.
Yeah, Whately is still staring at Cray, just like he's not saying a word. He's just giving the Whately stare that just screams, "Seriously,
Nice.
dude."
Nice.
So,
seriously, you would do that?
so the Marcus at this point, it just sort of holds up a hand and says, "Okay, we've got this tech. I assume if something needs doing, we'll be one of the people to go ahead and do it." Honestly, considering how we've been able to handle a bunch of these, situations for Starfleet, I'm okay with that. Because I know we can get this stuff done. So, you can make things a little bit easier for us, just dealing with the fleet, dealing with the Admiralty, not being sent on the front lines. I'd very much appreciate that.
Ray says that's why we're keeping you in the second exploration fleet. Honestly, temporal missions are few and far between. And he taps his pad again to give you essentially it goes from information on section 31 that's brief enough to have, already glanced over, to a brief history of like what temporal missions are officially have officially been sanctioned by the DTI, which are few and far between. There are way less than you imagine. As fans of Star Trek, there are way fewer. There are more temporal incursions, and you'll be able to see that on your map. There are incursions all over the place, but there are far fewer official Starfleet temporal missions than most people imagine. And he says there's far fewer, and sends the information to all of you. There are far fewer instances of a need to send an entire ship. We have agents that we send, and we have ways to send single agents at headquarters, but none of you are being considered for an kind of an agent insertion. We see you as a crew that works best together, and we'd like to keep it that way. We did have to take, we didn't, but the Dyson is it the Dyson the Daystrom says the Daystrom Institute, after receiving reports from
Whately raises an eyebrow and says, "Oh, you mean the Delta recruit?"
No, the Daystrom Institute had Doctor. She calls herself Dr. 3, keeping to her Borg designation. Not a Starfleet officer, works for the Daystrom Institute, and is fortunately, the Daystrom Institute is an ally of the Department of Temporal Integrity.
So as soon as
she'll be doing work for you at Daystrom.
So as soon as he says Dr. 3, everybody notices. Whately goes like blank white and just like slumps back in his chair and just is silent for the rest of it.
He says, so expect fewer than you imagine missions that involve traveling through time, but your ship is capable of doing it now. You're gonna need to know where you're going when you press those buttons. That's all I'm gonna tell you. That's why the map and the computers that we've installed on deck 7.5 are. That's why they're there. The temporal map is very important. Try not to break it. But you do have the ability. You do have the ability, and you do have the authority to instigate a temporal mission if you, and he looks right at you, Graves, if you decide that is what's going to happen.
So Marcus at this point has that realization, like, I have a lot of power here, and there's a little part of him that's like, yeah, you've got a lot of power here. But he sort of pushes that aside and just sort of goes to his default standpoint of like, yeah, I'm probably not going to use this unless it's really blindingly obvious like I should, so no problem. So he says to Cray, though, yeah, sounds like we can handle that. Pretty simple.
I figured you could after looking at a lot of your counseling files.
Those files? And Mark just kind of has a blink like, oh, those files. Okay, well, from missions 2, yeah, we've handled some big stuff before, and at the same time we tried to keep things to a minimum damage and do what we needed to do. And really
I like that Eli says, we've done what we needed to do. I like how Graves is like glossing over it, and Eli, did you just say you've looked at our counseling files?
No, that was all me.
That was him. I was going to say something completely different.
Okay, what do you say?
I was going to say, this time stuff should be easy. There's a 90% probability I was conceived during a temporal incursion.
I'm just like...
No, I didn't need to know that.
He looks down, he taps something on his pad, and much like the programmable technology has like a visual to it, he pushes like whatever he just typed into his pad, and there's definitely a visual of it, like it goes directly to Dr. O'Connor's pad. Nick, was Dr. O'Connor conceived during a temporal event?
Yes.
So with Nick, with the doctor saying there's a 90% chance I was conceived during a temporal incursion, he taps something into the pad, sends it very obvious only to your pad, and it says you were.
Okay, make that 100%.
And you're like, oh, 100%.
So, yeah, and then Marcus is just like, okay. And he sort of like stretches a little bit, a little theatrically, and just says, yeah, interesting. So we're getting all this installed. Is there anything that we need to be specifically briefed of regarding an assignment, or are we basically just...
You don't have an assignment yet, but I needed to brief you. He says, you don't have an assignment yet, but I needed to brief you as the command staff on what your ship is now capable of. It's going to be up to you to decide who has access to your temporal lab. In addition, we have made sure that the junior staff that are currently going to be serving aboard Reliant either have strong enough psychological profiles or understand what happened to Reliant during the mission that Section 31 sent you on, or received a passing grade in temporal mechanics at the Academy. Everyone on board your ship will now have that. Basically, everybody on board Reliant now is capable of psychologically handling the fact, or knowing or being smart enough to figure out, hey, this is what's happening. They got rid of people who couldn't hack the temporal side of things. And strangely, if he's been like, as he's doing this, he's sending information to all of your pads. And one of the things that you get, Whately, is that the reason that Larissa was removed from Reliant is she does not have a strong enough psychological profile to deal with multiple temporal events. That's why Larissa was removed from Reliant. That's new information.
That's not the thing that's got him fucked up, but that makes him a little bit sad. Like, it makes him as sad as it made Data sad when Tasha Yar died. Like, oh, but she was fun.
Yeah, but she was cool. And Bryce says, I only have one question, and that is, what constitutes an event worthy of Captain Graves deciding to activate the temporal drive? Cray says, that's up to Captain Graves. Aside from official assignments, you simply are a ship that can save time if time needs saving.
Yeah, that's a pretty good definition for what we're going to do.
So when do we plan the vacation to the past? Eli jokes.
That's not what he means by saving time.
Eli, like, when do we plan a vacation to the past? Cray raises an eyebrow, and
I
he's
literally
like,
stated Eli jokes after.
Yeah, but it's funny.
I bet
Marcus
you Cray's
has
reaction
Whately's
would be
look.
to raise an eyebrow and be like, "Oh, I knew you'd say that."
That's Whately's look to Eli.
What the fuck you doing?
We're messing with Whately good this time.
It's about time he was on the receiving end.
Right?
Crazy.
I'm loving this.
Cray is like, I probably know. I probably know more than I'm remembering to tell you. That's
You probably know less than I know of what you know. And Whately literally says that.
But do you know what I know about what he knows that he should tell us?
He says, "Is there anything that that you'd like to ask or talk about while we're here?" And he shuts down his pad to a receive mode so that all of you can now you see very easily. They're much like a normal pad with a normal LCAR system on them, and it's very easy to see how to send information to one specific other pad or how to send information to all pads in this. In this group. And this group is obviously all the pads that were replicated from the first.
Marcus put it says, so, this is probably no, but say extending shore leave time by jumping back in the past, letting it roll forward, jumping back in the past again, that's probably not going to be a good thing, is it?
The time stream is not a place for shore leave.
Okay.
He says, and the reason for that is
Whately is doing that hand gesture where he's like trying to talk and then stops.
He says, you're
stops.
born where you were born, and that's the time that will always be most comfortable to you.
So Kara types out a bunch of stuff and hits send on it.
Whately gives her a stern look. And then goes back to doing that whole fuck. Like, Eli is probably picking up on what Whately is thinking right now. It is literally just a long string of fuck. We are fucked.
Yeah, what Cray says in answer to your question, he says, and you're born when you're born, and that means the stretch of time that is your life within that time frame after you were born is always going to be the most comfortable for you.
Marcus,
using time as as anything be. You could use it as a shore leave in a way if you were using it for historical observation as well.
Ooh, I'm down for that.
I'm going to put a no onto that for right now. Because, I mean, yeah, fun to joke around, but yeah, I do have a specialization in temporal mechanics, so yeah, I'm going to try to make sure that this stuff gets used as little as possible. But still do the job when it needs to do.
Whately suddenly stops his gesturing he's been doing and his arguing with himself, and he looks at Cray and he says, "Look, I know everything you know, except one thing. What is it we are exactly supposed to do?"
He leans back on has been standing this whole time, and he leans back and he says, "Need you to stay out of my mind."
I can't.
Because I can't tell you.
I can't. Motherfucker. He literally stands up, his spindly fingers digging and breaking into the arms of the chair. He's like, "I literally fucking cannot. Don't ask me to do what I can't. I need you to tell me what we are supposed to do."
I can punch him for you.
All right,
I got a brand new arm.
You can tell, just real quick, you can tell Whately that he searches for a way to tell the truth without revealing anything. What does Kara do while he does that?
She just makes that joke of, "I can punch him if you want. I got a brand new arm."
I can punch him if you want. I got a brand new arm. And he looks across the table at you, Whately, and he says, "Very well.
Chat, should I make her pass out without even looking at her?
What we need you to do is save a whole lot of lives and make sure that the second exploration fleet actually is able to do its job."
I'm down for that.
Whately is just like, he's still like half standing, his fingers
So
like digging into the arms of the chair, and he's staring at Cray with just like this maniacal look going, "There's more."
Oh, and that's what you can detect, that there's definitely more, and you even know what the more is. He knows when and how you are potentially going to save a lot of lives. But that is the thing that he can't tell you.
This is also the point where he knows where we are potentially going to die. This is, in my mind, the point where Whately snaps.
He does know potentially when you're going to die.
That critical success that Whately got, he literally knows everything Whately knows, or everything that Cray knows, except for the stuff that's outside of the temporal stuff, and that is what is fucking Whately's mind up. Whately is going insane right now, and he is like, "There's more, and you know it, and I know it, and you need to fucking tell me, motherfucker."
He says, "There's more, and I know it, and you know it," and you even say that. Maybe you skip the motherfucker. I don't know.
Oh, no, Whately would say it.
TV
Whately would say it. Like, Whately is gone.
So
So
does
at this
anybody
point-
want to respond
Yeah.
before Cray does?
Yes, Marcus is going to just put his hand up and just, "Chaplain."
Whately ignores it. He's not a chaplain right now.
Kara checks to see if she has her phaser.
You do.
Marcus actually gives Kara a sort of just points to Kara and then points to Whately.
Kara pulls out her phaser and stuns him.
Shit.
Whoa! Whoa!
He's not paying attention. I'm not defending. There's no way he can defend it.
Whoa!
Necessary. I look at Kara.
That was so not what I expected.
That's what I was expecting. Christ, have you paid attention to Kara this whole show?
it looks like Cray was literally about to talk, and then Kara just turns around and fires her phaser at Whately, and he slumps down into his chair. He is stunned.
So,
Kara gives a salute to Captain Graves and puts her phaser away.
Captain, was that necessary?
Marcus salutes back and says, Whately scanned Cray's mind.
Mind you, he's saying this in front of Cray.
Yeah,
Bryce, by the way, his reaction to the whole thing as the captain is talking, he doesn't say anything. He's just like, he's looking at Whately, he's looking at Kara, and he's doing math in his head.
They have genetics, you know.
That's what it looks like. Bryce is like, what the
fuck just happened?
Let Marcus speak. So
what does Marcus say?
Marcus says to Cray, Whately scanned your mind, and you know, I'm not going to get into he know, but something messed him up right there. So we need to get him to sickbay to make sure he's all right.
He says, getting him to sickbay would probably help, and my guess, Captain, what made him probably fearful and worried, which led to whatever just happened here. My guess would be that he knows the information I have is about you saving a lot of people and potentially ensuring the survival of the entire second exploration fleet. And it also is one of the points in time that you'll find that time is a fluid thing. And because of that, there are points in time where, despite history recording things one way, things can happen different ways. And the point in time where you save a lot of people might also be the point in time where all of you die.
Yeah,
he says that very plainly, and he sounds completely honest and what would be the word? He is unfazed by the fact that he is telling you, when what I know happens, you might become heroes or you might die. It doesn't faze him at all to know that.
Kara immediately responds, now why'd you go and spoil it? I wanted to be surprised when I die.
I mean,
we're still potentially going to be surprised. Yeah, so, first of all, that's basically been our entire tour so far, both at Karat and Lapadas. If we exploded there, some things may have gone wrong, but time would have moved on. So this doesn't change anything for us right now.
He looks over and he says, you performed admirably in temporal mechanics at the Academy, Captain. It's one of the reasons why the Commission is comfortable assigning Reliant to this. Welcome to the Temporal Integrity Commission. Welcome to the Department of making sure that time stays right.
All
mug
right.
for this, or?
He goes, we don't have a mug. You say, did I get a mug for this? And he looks over and he says, sorry, we don't have mugs.
You can think of a pretty good or effective enough pun. Just so we're clear, is there anything that might help our chaplain to, say, recover, deal with this? I mean, surely the DTI...
Hold on. Immediately after he says all that, Kara simply goes, well, we could get him some counseling.
And Marcus is actually just suggesting that. Marcus is saying, does the DTI have counselors specialized for A, beta Zeds, and B, temporal loops like this?
He says, no, but I can program one.
Go ahead and do that.
And I can make it the person he most likely would trust.
He just kind of thinks it's like, is that Lieutenant Tardigrade? I don't know.
He goes, no, your holodeck is a little more powerful than what they've got here on Epsilon. Do you want to do it on board your ship?
Let's go ahead and get something ready in case Victor needs it here.
Sure.
But we'll go ahead and just, plan for this a little bit longer term. Just make sure he's okay.
He goes, just have, he looks over at you, Doctor, and says, just make sure he stays sedated until I've got a counselor ready for him. And anybody who wants to watch Cray programs something into your holodeck. He goes onto your ship, programs something into the holodeck. Do people want to see what he programs?
I kind of
Marcus
do,
is-
but I gotta keep him under.
Sure. Well, I mean, you still can see what he programs, Nick, with Dr. O'Connor. He programs a counselor that is invested with the combined expertise of like 10 of Starfleet's best counselors, as well as putting temporal mechanics, everything that is learnable regarding temporal mechanics from the Academy and basic files at the... basically, he makes a counselor specialized in time madness.
And by the way, just I want to point this out. At this point, Whately should be one of Starfleet's 10 best counselors. I don't know where in the ranking he would be, but he should be on that list.
Oh,
I just have this idea now of Hollow Whately talking to Whately about his feelings.
Oh, I already know who the counselor's going to be,
so-
but I'm keeping my mouth shut.
So the scene comes up with Whately waking up. You wake up in a counselor's office, or in like a you wake up in a counselor's office, Whately. Mm-hmm. You're not quite as in the moment of realizing that Phillip Cray knows shit that you don't know, and I know too much because he knows so much over the course of his lifetime. He knows possibly when I'm going to die, and that fucks me up. And you hear a voice say, "How do you feel, Chaplain?" And you look over and you see yourself asking you how you feel.
That was not what I expected.
He programs...
That was not what I expected. Oh,
He-
shit. That was not what I expected.
He programs the person he thinks you might most trust. He programs you with the knowledge of like how to counsel you away from being scared of time.
I had two guesses of who it would be. I figured it would either be Graves or Violet.
Ooh, neat. Nope. I immediately thought when they were like, let's
But,
give him some
yeah,
counseling,
no,
I was
that-
like,
that
ooh,
makes sense.
What a great way, because we're at 9:15 when we're going to end in 15 minutes. I was like, what a great way to end the episode, bringing us into Whately counseling Whately. And the fact that once you start knowing too much about time, and it's one of those things that he says, "How do you feel, Victor?"
I feel that you are not real and I would like to be let off this couch.
Nothing's holding you on the couch. I'm a hologram. I'm not real. I'm a hologram.
You know what I mean.
I'm not real. I'm not real, and so I might not be able to provide you with the comfort that your mind needs right now.
He gives the Whately look and he says, again, you know what I mean.
Do you think you can handle it? What's about to happen out there?
He leans forward, starts to sit up off the couch, rests. I wish I had my camera on because I'm doing like full body language right now. He leans forward and he's like, I don't know. Are you sure you can handle it, Chaplain?
I'm not a chaplain. He says, I'm not a chaplain. I am a hologram who is programmed with, if you'd like me, he goes, I'm a hologram who is programmed with
Computer off. End program.
Can't do that. But I'm willing to end the program. I believe that you can handle what's about to happen out there.
So when he says that, Whately gets a surprised look on his face and he looks at his holographic self.
Ooh, actually, what Kara just posted in chat, when you say computer end program, the other you actually says,
Yes,
I'm
I
sorry,
love that.
Victor. I can't let you do that.
I love that. That is fucking gold.
That is gold. That's perfect. And literally says, I'm sorry, Victor.
That should be the end of the scene. We'll pick up on it next session. That's fucking...
No, because it literally is, this person is about to tell you or this hologram is about to tell you that it believes you are capable of dealing with what's about to happen. And then it tells you what's about to happen is the fact that every mission that you go on now might mean your death.
What I know is that literally everything has a multitude of possibilities. Now, I have known that ever since I have enlisted into Starfleet Academy, or commissioned, whatever the term is, going into Starfleet Academy. You know what I mean? But
He says, yes, I actually do.
But
You're in, and he
what
points to
gets
his forehead. He goes, "You're in here too."
is that I now know every single possibility. And
You know
some
every
of
single
them-
possibility that Phillip Cray knew, and quite frankly, Phillip Cray is a minor functionary, simply assigning, from my perspective anyway, simply assigning you to a new division of Starfleet. It's not like every mission you went on wasn't already ripe with the possibility to go this way or that way, or this. And so many possibilities exist every time you
He's
wake up.
literally just staring at the hologram.
It's like so many
like-
possibilities exist every time you wake up in the morning, Victor.
He's still just staring at the hologram with that, you know goddamn well what I mean.
You know
He's
goddamn
not,
well what
he's
I
not
mean.
saying it. He's
Let
just
me out
that's
of here. It's like
that's the
and like
look.
that's what we can read from Whately's face, and the episode ends with a spooky Whately, or the episode definitely like is coming to a. We'll still like hang out and chat a little bit, but the episode comes to an end with definitely what we're gonna call. I think we should just start calling them creepy Whately moments, and the hologram starts to say Victor, and it sounds the voice that it's been using. Victor, there are so many, and then the face of it changes and goes from kind, still looks like you, but goes from a kind trying to like communicate with you expression to a cruel powerful expression. And it just had started to say when it was kind, Victor, there are so many things, and then its expression changes and it says that you don't even have a clue about yet. You're glad you can finally move through time.
See, that's
Computer!
why.
End program. And you're standing in the holodeck.
Oh shite.
That's the end of the episode. With,
right,
with
do we-
a Victor
do we-
hologram saying, "We are glad you can finally move through time."
Do we want to give it 10 seconds, or do we want to talk about it a little bit before we end
Sure, we can
the
give it.
actual
We can give
episode?
it 10. Give it 10 seconds. That's the end of the actual episode, and then.
Actually,
those of us who are-
no. Before
those
we
of-
do the 10 seconds, we got to do the outro. We got to do the outro.
Do do do.
We got to do the outro.
Do do do. Do the outro. Do 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 do. Yeah, go ahead. Do the outro.
I'm just sitting here like I got to shoot Whately, and I liked that. Is that bad?
Yes. I totally forgot. That is so great. That is, I'm in love with the fact that we have outro credits now. or have had. Wow, this is awesome. Whoa.
We need to see how he and his sheep are doing.
We do. This
Yo.
is great. Who made this one? Solak. Awesome. Well, thank you, Solak. See, I like every game. Like, I've listened to a ton of games on online. I'm part of a group on one of the social medias that has a bunch of people say, "Hey, we play Star Trek Adventures. Come listen to us." And so I've listened to a lot of games, and one thing that I've noticed is either people use the official setting and the official modules a whole lot, or people use they're telling their own story, and every time it's like only a couple of episodes before Q is there, and I'm like, man, if I ever use Q, it's gonna be like forever in the future now because of this.
Exactly. So shall we give it 10 seconds so I can end the episode?
Absolutely, and I mean, you can keep us on your stream. I don't.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not talking about that. I just mean like ending the actual recording.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, absolutely. Counting to 10.